Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Monash Business School's online seminar, part of a project on circular economy, looking at Melbourne's manufacturing industry. Today's seminar is focused on the textiles industry, and I thank you for joining us today for a bit of a discussion on what is circular economy and what is involved and how do we get started. Thank you, Glenn. Glenn Croy, Associate Professor in the Department of Management with myself, Emmerich Sohel. I'm a professor in the Department of Management. A number of my other colleagues are here with us as well, which I'll introduce in a minute. Before we do that, acknowledgement to country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia, and especially the people of the Kulin Nations. We recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Thank you very much. So this is a project being conducted by Monash Business School in partnership with the Southeast Melbourne Manufacturing Alliance. Vonda Fenwick is the CEO of SEMA. There are a number of other groups that are supporting us as well on this project, which are not mentioned on this slide. The Southeast Business Networks, as well as the city of Hume, north of the city. Ian Davies is here this morning. Thank you, Ian. And we are working with 8 different city councils in the southeast and the east of Melbourne. And my colleagues on this project, as I said before, myself and Glenn Croy, Professor Daniel Prajogo, Associate Professor Christian Rotaru from the Department of Accounting, Annie Bhattacharya, Alkanand, and Taraka Divas, who is our research fellow on this project. And we're all from the Department of Management in the Business School at Monash University. So, sorry, go ahead, Glenn, sorry.
Thank you, Emmerich, and welcome again, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this early morning on a Friday. What I'm going to do just now is going to outline our agenda for the seminar, and then go through introducing what circular economy is. So overall, what we're looking to do is highlight the strategic importance of circular economy, not only for our nation, but also for businesses specifically. And we're going to do this through these 4 different aspects. One is to raise the awareness of what the circular economy is, to give you an insight and background as to what it means more broadly, but also how it is realized within a practical context. We're going to introduce the reasons why to adopt the circular economy practices and the benefits of doing this, and particularly draw on examples from some of the businesses that we've been engaged with that have been or have already started this journey and are progressed along it. Third, we're going to be highlighting different starting points for the circular economy journey, and also how, particularly how other businesses have begun this journey. And then finally, through that process, we're going to highlight some initial circular economy practices that could be adopted. Again, drawing from examples from previous businesses, but within this, also highlighting the transition to our workshops that will be going to be held in a fortnight's time, where we'll be looking to facilitate those outcomes for you. So in this workshop, we're looking to target particularly those involved in the textile industry and within Australia. And the key reasons for this is number one, is the importance of the sector to the Australian economy, both in its economic contribution, but also its employment contribution. But one of the key reasons why we're focused on it is because of the scale of waste that it occurs. We have over 800,000 tonnes of waste each year from textiles in Australia. And this equates to the equivalent of 23 kilometres to landfill per person each year in Australia. That is a lot of waste. What we're seeing in this, though, is that there's a lot of opportunity to start reducing that waste. And we've already seen that there's a beginning to that journey, that there's already 7% recycling occurring. And we're seeing that as starting to grow as we progress. But with the amount of waste and that small percentage, we're also seeing that there's significant opportunities or many other opportunities to do much more in the waste reduction efforts here. And what we're proposing is by adopting circular economy practices that we can start that journey. So the big question to start with then is, what is the circular economy? Well, Ellen MacArthur identifies that the circular economy is an industrial economy which by design is restorative and regenerative. Now, what this means to us is that there's a greater focus on the components or the materials within our design system. And through that, though, it requires a change in mindset and in behaviors. So it's by focusing on the materials and the components rather than necessarily our products that we get to see the opportunities where we may be able to see both the opportunity to regenerate value within our system, but also to restore that value within our system. And so broadly what we see here is it's a transition from a linear model, a take, make, and break or destroy model, into one that's circular. And largely we can see this through two processes. First is through minimization, and through minimization of the resource inputs and emissions. So reducing or minimizing the inputs through this, and largely this is through strong collaborative processes through our supply networks. And this is by slowing the amount of inputs that come into our system, particularly those that are harmful and or wasteful, narrowing our supply systems and closing the resource loops. And what we mean by closing the resource loops is returning our waste back into or back to our suppliers so that they can then remanufacture and supply to us again. Again, creating or capturing that value in regenerative systems. The second element there is to maximize efficiency within the system, and particularly by capturing as much value of the resources that we are using and reducing the waste that is produced through that system. Now, I appreciate that that is a relatively conceptual introduction to it. So let's look at this through two models in more practical context. So the first model I want to look at is this butterfly diagram, again from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. On the left, we see the biological, and on the right, we see the technological goods. And largely, we see a division between these. Down the center of this diagram is our linear model: the take, the make, consume, and then destroy into landfill. However, what the circular economy is looking to do is to engage in the wings, or these loops to the side of this diagram. Generally in the biological, there's an emphasis looking at reconstituting the goods and then return the value back into the biosphere so that it can then start again in the creation of new biological goods. On the technological, where there seems to be, or there is a greater emphasis, what we've got a greater emphasis on here is on maintaining the goods, the products that we're producing, repairing, remanufacturing, and the like. As well as these processes, a key aspect of the circular economy is the important element of designing the opportunities for maintenance, for reuse and redistribution, for remanufacturing into our processes and into our products. And providing these opportunities also for our customers to take advantage of these so that they can both maintain, but they can also potentially return it to us for the repair, the remanufacture, etc., etc. Another way of understanding the circular economy is looking at this practical context here. So this looks like in practice a division across three different periods of our short loops, our medium loops, and our long loops. So in the short loops, which is generally our lower hanging fruit, we can again see the emphasis here on R0, R1, R2, and R3. And the first one here is refusing. So this is refusing harmful and wasteful inputs. The second is about reducing waste, particularly waste within our processes, but also waste from our outputs as well. Our third is the resale or reuse, and particularly reuse within our process, but also of the outputs that we're creating and providing those opportunities. And then the fourth one is the repair, both in our ability to repair and maintain the goods that we're producing, but also for the opportunity for others, our customers, to do that as well. And through the demonstration of those four is the achievement of our short loops. Moving into the medium loops, we place a greater emphasis on rebuilding. And largely this is through refurbishing the goods that we produce, but it also may be the remanufacture, which means to identify the different components and to be able to rebuild that product again in a new form or into its old form. And then the third one into the repurpose, which is again to dismantle into its components and rebuild into a new form. And that there constitutes our medium loops. In our long loops, though, we're designing the opportunity for new value, or value at least, to be captured at the end of life. And this is through our recycling, through our energy recovery, and our remining processes. So that is a broad introduction to the circular economy. I'll now pass it back to Amrik to talk about the project that we've been undertaking and to how this then relates to businesses now.
Thank you very much, Glenn. We were successful in a application that we put into Sustainability Victoria through the Circular Economy Business Innovation Center. I'm sure you're familiar with the Circular Economy Business Innovation Center that's been established for 2-3 years now. And our project was to look at what's happening, particularly in the Southeast Melbourne area, and help businesses and their supply chain members to get started on their journey towards circularity. We designed the project in 3 phases. We are currently in the 3rd phase, the final phase, and we just want to very, very quickly share with you the findings from our phase 1, which was interviews that we conducted with 25 businesses around Melbourne. And of course, we covered a number of questions, including what were the drivers to businesses adopting circular economy practices, what are some of the challenges, and so on. We try to understand what the critical success factors are. And of course, we ask the question, what are the benefits from adopting good circular economy practices? And here's just an overall summary of what the 25 interviewees talked about when they refer to sort of advantages or benefits from circular economy, divided here into internal and external benefits. Under internal, 3 main advantages identified, which is really an opportunity for businesses to upscale themselves, to do something different, to do something sensible, something for the environment, of course, for their own organization as well. The second one are economic benefits that circular economy provides you. Of course, you reduce waste, you improve quality, you improve productivity, and all of that directly translates to improving profitability. And third internal barrier is improving the environment within the workplace, providing a better culture, which makes people much happier, and you become an organization of choice. The 3 external advantages, benefits that our interviewees refer to were relating to marketing and branding. You become a company known for, a leading business that cares for the environment, that cares for the natural resources and so on. And of course, we know of companies that started doing this, over a decade ago, and now have become, renowned around the world for their efforts and their outcomes. And as a result, you end up producing better products with better quality and lasting longer and so on. And all of that leads to you as a business, being part of a local community and your supply networks that can provide leadership for real change. So these are really overall the advantages or benefits that we have identified from our first phase of the study. We've captured these comments or the benefits and other aspects of the circular economy journey from our interviewees in short videos as well. And I believe our next next slide is to show you some of the benefits that these businesses are talking about. And we'll tell you who they are once you've seen this very short video, 5 minutes. Thank you.
It's about the economy. It's about all of our economy, everywhere. It's about how we source, design, manufacture, utilize resources, and how we recover those resources and reutilize them. That's the economy, how we manage our environment around us.
Really about bringing our personal philosophy to the business, about being a sustainable business.
Definitely a personal desire to be part of the sustainability movement and to do it on a level that was much bigger than just an individual basis.
Part of the company DNA from 1983, utilizing the 3R of remand, reduce, and recycling, which was initially utilized to reduce the waste in components in vehicle electronics while capturing niche opportunity as a business.
Being resourceful and sustainable with your practices, again, it can result in economic gain. So turning your waste into value, turning your waste into worth, that is the win-win with the circular economy.
The way that we've designed our products has been with that whole sustainability and that whole circular life cycle in mind.
The benefits of the circular economy cannot be overestimated.
It gives me a great sense of pride to know that we've been instrumental in creating major reduction in waste.
Huge economic benefits. Profit and sustainability don't need to be mutually exclusive. In fact, we've found that by being resourceful and economical with our resources has resulted in greater profits.
We can get a financial benefit if we reincorporate them into our product.
We've saved a lot of money.
Cost down benefit of it, as well as the marketing benefits that ensue.
We're definitely seeing a major shift in consumer sentiment. If consumers are given the option of a business that does things sustainably and a business that doesn't, all things being equal, reports are showing that there's 70 to 80% of consumers that will actually go with the sustainable business.
It gave us some competitive edge compared to our competitors.
Our circular economy credentials provide an excellent marketing tool. It gives us a point of difference compared to our competitors. So people want to buy our products because they also believe in what we're doing. They like what we're doing.
For us, we're getting a lot more attention from a business to business commercial point of view and a lot more government engagement. So our impact not only on the environment, but also on others and the way that we can actually create things for others has been a massive benefit for our company, and the growth trajectory we're on at the moment is being stimulated by the recognition of our contribution to the circular economy.
Future-proofing the supply chain of minerals and materials already in circulation, thus providing an alternative solution for our customers of high-quality products at a reasonable cost.
I think one of the greatest benefits has actually been that we've built trust with our customers, and trust in our reputation that we are people who, the people that comprise the business are passionate about trying to make a difference.
An affinity with your patrons. The patrons really buy into the refillable bottle program. They also like to hear about the spent grain going to the farm.
We can feel the energy building within the business and beyond.
It makes us an employer of choice. So it's very good in terms of attracting and retaining employees.
We're seeing a real cultural boost within our team because they know they're doing good and they're doing things that are actually feeding into a system that recognises how well that they are doing in that the circular economy and the reduction of waste.
Our staff are more invested in our journey and are proud of the work that we're doing. They like working for an environmental, sustainable company.
Knowing that actually the company they're working is actually doing something about the environment.
there's the clear environmental impact. So for us, it's about creating a greener planet, and that everything we do contributes to that.
People want to know where their product's coming from. They want to know it's being produced in a sustainable manner. They want to know what's happening with their waste. A lot of big companies are doing environmental reporting now.
Very keen on the environmental principles, and also the key staff here were also very much environmentally conscious.
Businesses certainly influence other businesses to do similar sorts of things as well.
They've developed a progressive and they're tapping into that progressive thinking. So they're always working out ways in which they can contribute to the circular economy in a better way, and coming to us with brand new ideas all the time. And
so while it might sound soft, that, you know, reputation and trust might seem like a soft kind of benefit, it has very real business outcomes.
It makes, again, economic sense as well as environmental sense.
Thank you very much, Glenn. So as you see here on the screen, range of companies that we interviewed, including food and furniture and recycling businesses and so on. So a number of different perspectives on what circular economy is and the benefits that this provides. Glenn, the next slide, please. So how do we, now we know what circular economy is and the benefits it can deliver, how do we start the journey? How do we start to develop a strategy, and what sort of practices can we adopt and implement? Now, a lot of this will be covered in much more detail through our workshops starting in a couple of weeks' time. And the objectives of this phase of our study, the final phase, is to really start you on that journey, you know, guide you in terms of you know, making a start, and facilitate you throughout that journey with respect to adopting, you know, relevant practices that could be adopted by your business within your industry sector. Of course, there's a lot of learning that you can reflect on from other sectors and other businesses, and we've captured all of those experiences, and we want to share those with you as well through the workshops, as well as ongoing over the next year or so. And we want to demonstrate how practices relating to what we call R0 and R1, refuse and reduce, can be adopted within your business. So that's basically what our objectives are, and we hope you will join us in kickstarting this journey for you. Glenn, very quickly, what is refuse and reduce? We are primarily focusing on looking at our processes, redesigning those processes, making appropriate changes to processes, to monitor and make sure that, you know, we don't accept, you know, materials and products that are not going to be fit for purpose, if you like. They don't fit with our value system in the company, as some companies have mentioned to us that they're going to, you know, be hazardous and lead to waste and so on. So we'll be talking about, you know, what are the things that perhaps are going to be harmful, create waste, and we should really refuse, and how do we go about handling all of that. The second R is to focus on reduce, again thinking about redesigning all the way from our actual product design through to process design, packaging materials, all the logistics that are involved and so on, so that less of everything is used. There is no waste, improve efficiencies, and we end up with, you know, at the end of life, other options for the materials and the products and so on. And as I said, the focus is on reducing waste and increasing efficiencies and so on. Here is another video, a short video, 4 or 5 minutes long, just to emphasize other aspects of circular economy that our interview companies have been talking about that we have engaged with. Thank you, Glenn.
Sustainability and circularity are a little bit different. And when it comes to contributing to a circular economy, it's the cradle to cradle concept that is a really important element that a lot of companies are missing. But the cradle to cradle concept, where you're creating a modular product or a modular process that can actually be redesigned, reused, redeployed, refurbished, that is the essence of that circular economy journey.
I mean, the first few steps were quite simple. Things that we were doing at home, we brought to the business. So it's quite simple, quite easy, really.
Wanting to be part of a movement is one thing, but ensuring that it makes business sense is another.
And we looked at the value stream and pulling value through the supply chain to ensure that it's compliant and meets the highest standards.
Well, for the EV batteries, it was understanding the opportunity, the volume, and the technology to make it a possibility. As per any business ideas, the financial needs to stack up, and the return or benefit needs to be realized for a number of given years.
Our journey involved becoming as efficient as possible with the use of the major resource that we use in our pallet manufacturing division, which is obviously timber. In order to reduce our spend on timber, we began using recycled timber wherever possible. So, for example, if we're repairing 1,000 pallets, there might be 50 out of that 1,000 pallets that are beyond economical repair. They're too badly damaged. So we would dismantle those pallets. We've got specialized equipment to do that. And out of that 50 pallets, we might be able to produce enough timber to repair, several hundred of the repairable pallets. So it saves us a lot of money if we can reuse recycled timber rather than using new timber. It's less than half the price.
But more importantly, it's about the environmental benefit which can be attributed to a said cause. For example, a 120 kilowatt hour BESS unit could save potentially 42 tons of CO2 from a second application EV battery. So each of those CO2 cost saving has a cost value. And that's how you equate the benefit from that perspective as well.
For us, it was really about doing our market research and making sure that the market that we were creating, and we had to test again and again that there was a market for it. And for our particular product, we needed to make sure that not just the consumers that we wanted to use the product were happy to use it, that they desired it, that they wanted it, but we also had to make sure that the cafes and restaurants that support the use or the reuse of the product by facilitating the container exchange program, that they were equally as invested and happy to deal with the product.
Everything is led by design, and I'm not talking about product design. I'm talking about business process design. I'm talking about manufacturing process design. It was all about waste minimization. It all comes down to how well you design and plan your processes within your business and within your manufacturing.
First sought and achieved GECA accreditation. Process of getting the GECA accreditation, we had to change our manufacturing processes, and one first part was to implement product stewardship into our business model. So accepting the goods back and that sort of stuff. So it started with that, and then slowly started growing into other departments like materials, wherever possible, sending the scraps to supply and so on. So it's slowly expanding.
So the Product Stewardship Act looked at removing waste, maximising resources, reducing energy, reducing emissions at a product level across materials, products and services. So we've implemented from day one, we've implemented the principles of product stewardship, circular economy, which is design out waste, design for longevity, and design for recovery of resources.
Thank you very much, Glenn. So the key word there is really, designing in, taking out wastes and so on. Some other examples that we can refer to from our research in phase 1 of this project, what our companies refer to in terms of refuse, only sourcing sustainability certified raw materials, making sure that the suppliers are credible, they have the right systems in place and the right standards in place and so on, procurement of sustainable products, and maximizing materials sourced from Australian suppliers. And of course, that's becoming more and more critical and important now since the pandemic. 2 years ago, we want to find local suppliers and make sure that our local supply chains are strong and resilient. And of course, refusing hazardous materials and refusing unnecessary packaging materials. We've seen that in some industry that products sometimes are over-packaged, and when customers receive them or companies receive these products, they don't know what to do with the packaging. There's no system in place to handle that packaging and reuse it in any way. So in most cases, it goes straight into landfill, and that's a huge amount of waste, unnecessary waste. So we want to identify all of the unnecessary wastes so that they can go back into our loops. Next example is to do with the reduce, again from our company interviews. Examples include packaging made from Australian recycled materials, and more that is being done. We've seen that in our interview companies where materials are being used and sort of manufactured into different sort of products. We've heard from our interviewees the need for redesign, so products redesigned for longevity, making sure that products are designed that can be easily repaired, that can be easily disassembled, and so on. Designing for manufacturing, designing for disassembly, and so on are very, very important concepts for us to understand. A lot of focus by companies on renewable energy, installing solar panels and so on, LED lighting, and cutting out all sorts of other waste through using modern technologies. Of course, not every company is able to invest in implementing some of the latest technologies, but you have to make a start, and technology can provide, or some advanced technology can provide many benefits. Heat generation by burning waste, water collection and reusing for other purposes, and so on, use of electric fork trucks, and I've mentioned reuse of packaging and so on. So there are many things business can do. Certainly in the textiles industry, there are many waste streams. We need to identify what those waste streams are and how these waste streams can be turned into value. And that's what we want to work with you during our workshops. It'd be a bit of homework to do, so that when you come to the workshop, we can discuss in more details how R0 and how R1 values can be captured. Next slide, please, Glenn. So our initial steps in starting the circular economy journey. Glenn, you might like to take over and just take us through what the initial steps are.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Emmerich. So what we've been able to show you is different examples from a range of different businesses from our prior research as to starting this journey. And what we know is that this journey is a long journey, but it starts with the first step. And these are 4 steps that we suggest that you take based on the information that we've given you today. Now, this initial steps, I'd suggest you can do it this afternoon, but you might want to wait until Monday. But these steps, and we appreciate also that many of you are in this top management teams in your businesses, but it's also worthwhile talking with your teams as well. So the first in is to start a conversation about circular economy. Start people talking about it and to thinking about circular economy and what some of the practices may be, and having that embedded within the top management discussions and potentially within the whole teams within the business. The second point that we say or suggest that you look at is to identify supply chain partners who will take the circular economy journey with you. Again, just thinking about who are our suppliers and thinking about how we might be able to engage them in these conversations about circular economy. And that's largely regarding or related to our R0 aspect there. And the third point, again, relating here to our R1 or to our reduction, is to identify the waste streams within the business, but also within the supply chain as well. To thinking about what aspects of our business do generate waste and potentially where we might have opportunities to start reducing that waste. And then fourth is start to consider out of those practices or those examples that we've talked about, both in the R0 and in the R1, thinking about are any of these practices, do they fit with our business and do they fit with our key partners or with our supply chain? What are some of the things that we could be doing quite easily and be thinking about right now? So largely these initial steps is to start thinking and to start conversing, to start a conversation, to put this front of mind and to hopefully get others to do so as well. Nonetheless, this is just the beginning of this journey. And we want to take you further along this journey. And we're going to do this or help facilitate this through the workshops. Now, in these workshops, we're going to be focused on outcomes. And these are going to be outcomes for your business. So we're going to be undertaking interactive but business specific activities where you're going to generate a plan for implementation or the beginning of your circular economy journey. Now, through this process of the workshops, we're going to be in collaborative network environments, which will also be a long-term support network of others also starting this journey, where we can use this support, our peers, to also motivate us, encourage us, and to share new and different ideas to maintain and progress along this journey. But in this workshop, what we're going to be looking for you to do is, number one, is there is going to be a basic pre-workshop self-assessment that we're going to be asking you to do, and I'll elaborate on that shortly. But in each of these workshops, we're going to welcome you. We're going to have groups allocated. These groups here are going to be based upon the pre-workshop activities, both to determine your current practices of circular economy, the current level of maturity within the environmental circular economy journey, but also within the regards to your industry and the different opportunities which are evident. In the workshop, we're going to focus on those two aspects of R0 and R1, the refuse and the reduce. And through each of these, we're going to identify the challenges and opportunities, again, looking at the specific business that you're in and how these opportunities relate to your business and can be applied. We're going to draw on others' examples of adopting circular economy practices and how they've changed their supply chains in relatively simple and easy ways so that we can start this journey again with you. From those examples, we're also going to be identifying some barriers and challenges that others have observed. But importantly, not only the barriers and challenges, also how they've overcome them, so that we can not only set you up with some targets for practices to adopt, but also the change management processes so that you can persist with the adoption of these practices for the implementation of your circular economy journey. So at the end of these workshops, we will have a basic but workable implementation plan to start your circular economy journey. As I noted, there is going to be a bit of pre-workshop work that you're going to need to undertake. Now this, again, I'll emphasize, is a basic piece of work to do. Part of this is going to identify what practices you're currently implementing, if any, but and also the level of maturity of circular economy maturity we're currently being demonstrated as well. We're also going to ask you to do a very basic self-assessment of your top 4 suppliers, largely looking at not only what they supply, the amount they supply, but also the credentials and any other concerns that you may have in regards to, for example, the circularity opportunities for this. We're also going to be looking at, or we're also asking you to do a basic self-assessment of your waste profile within your business. Again, identifying the top 4 waste streams, what that waste is, how much you're generating, how regularly you're generating, what's being done with it, and how much it's costing you as well. Again, these 2 inputs of the particularly looking at your supply chain and looking at your waste streams, will form the basis for the workshop foundation so that we can target our activities specifically to you and your business. So these workshops are going to be held in a fortnight's time. We've got the first on the 26th of May in Kingston. The 27th of May, we've got one in Frankston. On the 1st of June in the city of Monash, and on the 2nd of June in Dandenong. Each of these workshops are repeats of one another, so you can just attend one, the one that's closest to you. Again, re-emphasising that these are going to be outcome orientated. So you are going to be active in these workshops and looking at activities which are going to be developing, designing and applying these circular economy practices for your specific business, but also doing so in a collaborative way, in a collaborative space, so that these can be embedded with the support of a network of others that are also on this journey. So we've now ended the key aspects of our seminar and introducing what the circular economy is within this space. I am now going to share in the chat space a very brief survey. There's 3 simple questions to answer, and we very much appreciate your responses to these. These are very important also for our reporting purposes, so please do respond to it. In these last 5 minutes of our seminar, though, we'd also like to open the floor to any questions that anybody has in regards to what we've presented today and or the transition to the workshops that we're going to be looking at.
Thank you so much, Glenn. We'll be sending you by email that we have for you the links to register for the workshops. We will do that later today or first thing next week, so that you and your colleagues or even members of your supply chain, or I should say supply chains, who could possibly come along and participate in the workshops. We'll provide these will be the first 3 workshops will be from 9 a.m. to about 11:30. We'll provide some refreshments, morning tea. The 4th workshop will be held a bit later in the day, around lunchtime, starting at about 11:30, I think, 11:30, and we'll provide a light lunch as well in Dandenong. These are supported by the city councils in the respective cities. The councils themselves are becoming very, very passionate themselves about creating a circular economy and being able to help businesses, in their area. So that's another piece of work that we are starting, in terms of how we can support the councils to develop their capability so that they can go out there, both their business development people, as well as the councillors as well. Our earlier communication and phase 2 core design workshops, we held it with one particular city council. We had 3 councillors come along to learn about what is circular economy, and they want to be better prepared to be able to go out and talk to the community and businesses about the opportunities from a program such as this one. So we thank you for your participation today. Look forward to receiving an email with the link to register for the workshops. And if you have any questions, it's a small group. We can take a couple of questions before we finish this morning's session. I believe you have my email at least through the communication that you received. So if you'd like to connect with us via email, that's fine as well.
Thank you. I'll stop recording now.
Thank you.